Rachel had started calling me Papa 2 weeks ago, and Jessica had given up correcting her. Press it more, Rachel said. You already pressed it. Press it more. That is not how elevators work. She pressed it 9 more times. For years old, a lollipop stuck sideways in her hair. One fist wrapped around my collar like I might try to run. The lobby of the Sable Hotel had a screen along the whole back wall, and I had been trying not to look at it for 6 minutes. Luna Violet's face was on it. 3 stories of her. Some business magazine had put her on the cover, with a headline about the youngest chief executive in the country. The hotel ran the ad on a loop because the Violet Group owned the building. She used to fall asleep in the library with her head on a stack of textbooks. Now she was on the side of a building. 5 years and a photograph still did that to my chest. Papa up, Rachel said. I picked her up. The elevator opened. Luna stepped in looking at her phone. She got 2 steps in before she stopped. I watched her shoulders go still. She raised her head and she looked at me and she did not blink. The doors closed behind her. The little box we were standing in got very small. Vinny, she said. Miss Violet. Don't. That is your name. Rachel turned around to see who was talking. Luna's eyes dropped to her, and I watched something happen in her face that I have never been able to describe properly. Her mouth opened a little. Her hand came up halfway and stopped. Papa, press it more, Rachel said. Luna's hand went back down to her side. The floor numbers climbed. 11, 12, 13. She's beautiful, Luna said. She is. How old is she? 4. I watched her do the math. I watched her get to the answer and I watched it land. 4, she said. That's what I said. You left 5 years ago. I know when I left. She had a folder under her arm and she was holding it hard enough to bend the corner. Her voice was steady. That was the thing about Luna. Her voice was always steady, even when the rest of her was not. Is she yours? I could have said no. It was one word. My sister was upstairs waiting for me to bring her daughter back. The truth was sitting right there in my mouth. Then I looked at Luna Violet in her expensive coat, with her name on the wall downstairs. 5 years of being the poor boy she used to call at midnight came up my throat all at once. Yes, I said. The doors opened on 27. I walked out with Rachel on my hip and I did not look back. And behind me I heard the folder hit the floor. Jessica had ordered too much food, which she does every birthday, and Tom was cutting Rachel's fish into pieces so small they were basically dust. You were gone a long time, Jessica said. The elevator was slow. You're a bad liar. You've always been a bad liar. I went out to the balcony to smoke. 27 floors up. The city was all headlights and wet asphalt. It had started to rain in that thin way that does not sound like anything. I got through half a cigarette before the door slid open behind me. I did not have to turn around. You still smoke, Luna said. I quit for 2 years. What happened after 2 years? I stopped quitting. She came and stood at the rail, not next to me, a meter away, hands flat on the wet metal, looking out at the same nothing I had been looking at. You disappeared, she said. I moved. You disappeared, Vinny. Your phone was dead in 9 days. Your apartment had somebody else's name on the door. I went to your graduation. Did you know that? I sat in the back row of your graduation and waited for them to call your name. They never called it. You were already gone. I had a job overseas. You had a job overseas. Antwerp, then Milan. For years. She turned her head. And you couldn't type 6 words. That's all it would have taken. 6 words and I would have stopped. Stopped what? Looking for you. I put the cigarette out on the rail because my hand needed something to do. You want to know why? I said. Yes. You won't like it. I have not liked anything for 5 years. Say it. So I said it. I saw you, I said. On the red carpet. April, the year we graduated. You were on some man's arm in a green dress. He had his hand on your back. The whole country was taking pictures of it. I watched it in a laundromat on 5th Avenue, on a television bolted to the ceiling. My dryer took 8 quarters and I had 6. She did not say anything. That is the difference between us, I said. That has always been the difference between us. You were on a red carpet and I was counting quarters. So you ran. So I stopped embarrassing us both. Us both. Her voice cracked in the middle of it. Don't put me in that sentence. I was never embarrassed. Not one time, not one day. You didn't have to be. I was embarrassed enough for the 2 of us. That is not fair. Fair. I laughed and it came out wrong. You want to talk about fair? Do you remember what your friends used to call me? They didn't call me anything. They looked at me like I was something you'd picked up at a market because it was funny. I was your dog, Luna. You clicked your fingers and I came. And I was grateful, because who was I to want anything else? She hit me. Not hard. Open hand. Across the chest. And then she grabbed a fistful of my shirt and she did not let go. Say that again, she said. You heard it the first time. Say it again. Say the word dog to me one more time. Let go of my shirt. I have loved you since I was 17 years old. She was crying now and she was furious about it. She wiped her face with the back of her wrist and glared at me like it was my fault. It was, since I was 17. And you stood in a laundromat and decided who I was. And you left. And you never asked me a single question. Would you have told me the truth? You never gave me the chance to lie. The balcony door slid open. Vinny, she's asking for you, Jessica said. Rachel, come here, sweetheart. Come to mommy. and my niece let go of the door frame and ran past Luna Violet with both arms up, straight into my sister. Luna's hand opened. My shirt came loose. She stood there in the rain and she looked at me. I have never in my life wanted so badly for a building to fall down on top of me. I took the stairs. 27 floors because I was not getting in that elevator, and I made it down 4 before I heard the door bang open above me. Don't you dare. I kept walking. Vinny, stop. She caught me on the landing of 22. She had taken her shoes off to run and she was holding them in one hand. Her hair was stuck to the side of her face from the rain. The stairwell light buzzed above us. She's your sister's daughter, Luna said. Yes. You let me believe it. Yes. Why? Because for about 4 seconds it felt good to be the one who got to walk away. She hit the wall with her shoe. The sound went up the whole stairwell. Do you know what I thought? She said. In the elevator. I thought he built a whole life. I thought he has a child and a woman somewhere and he is happy, and I stood there and I was happy for you. I made myself be happy for you for 11 seconds and it nearly killed me, and it was not even true. That was a cruel thing to do and I knew it while I was doing it. Say you don't love me. Don't. Say it. She came up one step. Say the words. Say I don't love you, Luna, and I will get in my car and you will never see me again. I swear it. Say it. You know I can't say that. Then say the other thing. There is no other thing. There is. She was close enough now that I could see her hands shaking. Say you still love me. What would that fix? Everything, she said. It would fix everything, Vinny. That is the part you have never once understood. And she kissed me. 5 years. Her mouth was cold from the rain. She was crying into it. Her hand came up behind my neck the same way it always did. 2 fingers in my hair. My body remembered every single thing about her before my head caught up. I let it happen for 3 seconds. Then I put my hands on her arms and I moved her back. Stop, I said. She looked at me. You have a building with your name on it, I said. I have a rented room with a bench in it and a kiln that trips the fuse box. Your brother, your father, your board, they would look at me for 1 minute and they would know exactly what I am. I cannot do it again. I am not strong enough to be the small one in the room for the rest of my life. I never asked you to be small. You didn't have to. She sat down on the step. Just sat in her coat, on a concrete stair with her shoes in her lap. Get out, she said. I'm not leaving you sitting on a concrete floor. Get out, Vinny. Go home. I went down 18 more floors and got in my car. In the parking garage I sat with my hands on the wheel. The engine stayed off for a long time. I am not going to pretend I did not cry. I did. 2 days later a black car parked across the street from my studio and did not move for an hour. My studio was on the 2nd floor above a dry cleaner. The sign on the door was a piece of brass I cut myself because I could not afford a real one. Luna came up the stairs at 10 in the morning on a Tuesday in a gray suit, and she looked around the room like she was pricing it. This is where you work. This is where I work. It's small. I've been open a year. She walked the length of the bench. She stopped at the wall where I keep the sketches pinned up, and she stood in front of them for longer than a person normally stands in front of anything. You got better, she said. I got taught. There's a difference. No, there isn't. She turned around. I want to commission a ring. I put down what I was holding. There are 12 houses in this city that would open on a Sunday for you. I don't want 12 houses. I want you. Why? Because you are the best I have ever seen. Because I can pay. And because you cannot afford to say no to me, and we both know it. That should have made me angry. It did make me angry. It also made my ears go hot, which is a separate problem I have had since I was 19. What kind of ring? An engagement ring, Luna said. I'm proposing to someone. The room went very quiet. Somewhere below us the dry cleaner's machine started up. Congratulations, I said. Thank you. Who is he? Stubborn. She took her gloves off 1 finger at a time. The most stubborn man I have ever met. He decided something about himself a long time ago, and he has never once let anybody argue with him about it. Including me. Especially me. He sounds exhausting. He is. Then why? Because I have tried very hard to want somebody else, and I am not able to do it, she said. I picked up a pencil so my hands would stop being empty. I don't do this, I said. I do restoration and I do commissions for people who want their grandmother's brooch made into something their daughter will wear. I don't do engagement rings for people I used to sleep with. Then charge me more. That is not what I said. 40,000, Luna said. Design fee, separate from the stones. Get out of my studio. 60. Stop putting numbers on it. You are 3 months behind on this lease. The building is owned by Marchetti Holdings. The Violet Group holds the paper on 11 of their properties. I could have bought this room out from under you on Monday and you would never have known who did it. I didn't. Instead I came up the stairs and knocked. I stared at her. You looked into my lease. I looked into everything, she said. I have had 5 years. Do you have any idea what a person can find out in 5 years? Why are you doing this? Because if I ask you to have coffee with me you will say no, she said. But if I hire you, you have to open the door when I knock. That is the whole reason. I am not going to pretend it's something better. I have thought about that moment a lot since. About what would have happened if I had thrown her out. Leave your measurements with me, I said. I'll bring them myself. Thursday. You can email a ring size. I'd rather you take it. She was at the door before I understood what she had said. Before you go. Yes. What's his name? She put her gloves back on. Leave the inside of the band blank, she said. He'll want to do that part himself. And she went down the stairs. Luna came back on Thursday at 9 at night, which is not a time anybody comes to be measured for a ring, and it was raining hard enough that she stood in the doorway dripping on my floor for a full minute before she moved. You're late, I said. I had a board thing. It's 9. I had a long board thing. I put a towel on the bench next to her. She looked at it. She did not use it, and then 2 minutes later she used it. Sit, I said. She sat. I got out the sizing rings and set them on the leather. The rain came down on the skylight. Neither of us said anything for a while. Give me your hand. She put her left hand out, palm down. Here is a thing about being a jeweler that nobody tells you. You spend your whole working life holding other people's hands. It stops meaning anything. Then somebody puts their hand in yours after 5 years and the whole trick falls apart. Her fingers were cold and her hand would not stay still. Your hand is shaking, I said. It's cold in here. It isn't cold in here. No, she said. It isn't. I slid the first ring on. Too big. Second one. Too big. Third one caught at the joint and I turned her hand over to check the fit and her fingers closed around mine. Neither of us moved. You have to let go of my hand. 1 minute, she said. Don't say anything for 1 minute. So I did not say anything for 1 minute. The rain kept going. The machine downstairs had been off for hours and the building was so quiet I could hear her breathing. Then she let go and sat back and put her hand in her lap. 5 1/4, I said. Is that small? It's average. I've always wanted to be average, she said. Then she laughed at her own joke. It was the first time I had heard that laugh in 5 years, and I turned around and pretended to look for a tool. Why is it your size? What? You are proposing to a man. You gave me your finger. He'll want to see it on a hand before he agrees to anything, she said. He's like that. He needs to look at a thing before he believes in it. That's a strange man. He's a very strange man. I made her instant noodles. It was 9:40 and neither of us had eaten. I have watched Luna Violet eat a 30-course meal in a restaurant with no prices on the menu. She sat on an upturned crate in my studio and ate out of the pot with a chopstick in each hand. This is the best thing I have eaten in a year, she said. It costs 80 cents. I know what it costs. I used to buy them for you. You did. 2 flats a month. I left them in your dorm and pretended the cleaner did it. If I handed them to you, you would get that look. What look? That one, she said. The one you're doing right now. I put the pot down. I thought about you every day, I said. For 5 years. I want you to know that I did not have one single day off. Luna set her chopsticks down on the crate. She did not look up. Me too, she said. There were about 4 inches between our knees and I have never worked harder at anything in my life than I worked at not closing them. Then somebody knocked on the studio door and pushed it open without waiting, which only one person in my life has ever done. Vinny, I brought coffee. The place downstairs was closing and they gave me the last 2 for $1. I want you to know I fought a man for them. Julie stopped in the doorway with a cardboard tray in her hand. Luna stood up. You have company, Julie said. This is a client. At 10 at night. She's a client, Julie. Luna picked up her coat. The design, she said. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Good. She went to the door. Julie stepped aside for her. Luna stopped level with her and looked at her for 1 second too long. Then she went down the stairs and out into the rain without an umbrella. Julie handed me a coffee. That was Luna Violet. Yes. In your studio. Eating your noodles. She's a client. Vinny. Julie sat down on the crate that Luna had just left. She is a good person and I have never deserved a minute of her patience. There's a reunion Saturday. Jacob's putting it together. Our whole year at the university, plus the 9 or 10 of us who came up from the same high school. Come with me. I don't do reunions. Come as a friend. Come as a body in a car. I don't care what you call it. Just come. You don't want me there. I'm bad company right now. Say yes and I'll leave. Yes, I said. Luna stood on the street below in the rain with no umbrella and looked up at the lit window of my studio. Julie's laugh came down through the glass. Luna got into her car and put both hands on the wheel and did not start the engine. Derek Violet came up my stairs on Friday night, and I knew his face before I knew his name. Green dress, red carpet, laundromat on 5th Avenue, his hand on her back. Derek stood in the middle of my studio in a black coat with the collar up and looked at the sketches on my wall the same way his sister had. You're him, he said. I'm sorry, who are you? You know who I am. I know your face. Then you know who I am. He put a business card down on my bench without looking at it. The name on it was Derek Violet. Underneath it said Ren, which is what they call him on the radio, and I have heard his voice come out of a car speaker 300 times without once knowing whose brother he was. Ren, I said. That's a stage name. My father picked it. He thought Violet sounded like a florist. You want something. I want to look at you, Derek said. That's it. I have wanted to look at you for 5 years. Now I'm looking, and I'll be honest with you. It is not what I expected. What did you expect? Something bigger. I put down my tools. Say what you came to say. You saw me on a red carpet, he said. April the 9th. She wore green. I had my hand on her back because she was wearing shoes she couldn't walk in and she nearly went over on the stairs. There is a photograph of it framed in my mother's hallway. Something started going wrong in my stomach. You were with her all night, I said. I was with her all night. I'm her brother. The room did not spin. I want to say it spun because that would be easier, but it just sat there being a room while every single thing I had built my life on came apart in it. Her brother. Older by 3 years. Same father. Same mother. Same impossible temper. He pulled his collar down. Look at me. You have been looking at her for 6 years. Look at me and tell me you do not already know. She never said your name, I said. 2 years. She never once said your name. She never said any of our names, Derek said. You want to know why? Because every time she talked about her family your face changed. She told me that. She sat in my car outside your dormitory and she said, Derek, I can't talk about home. He goes somewhere when I talk about home. So she stopped. She stopped talking about her whole life so you wouldn't go somewhere. Stop. No. He came forward 1 step. You don't get to say stop. You had 5 years of stop. I said stop. She was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I heard it. I did not understand it. My hands were on the bench and I heard the words in the order he said them and I could not make them mean anything. What? June, Derek said. 6 weeks after you left. Our housekeeper found her. 3 weeks. And I sat in that chair every night and I watched my sister decide whether she wanted to be here anymore. No, I said. Yes. Luna would never. You don't know what she would have done. You left before you found out. His voice went up and cracked and he pulled it back down. She said your name. When she woke up. 3 weeks. And the first thing out of her mouth was your name. I stood in that room and I hated you so much I could not breathe. I sat down on my own stool because my legs stopped agreeing to hold me. I made her stop looking, Derek said. After the first year. I told her, if you find him and he says no to your face, I will lose you. I'm not doing that room again. So she stopped. And then 2 weeks ago she got in an elevator. Is she all right? Now, is she? She is a functional adult who runs a company, and she has not had a full night of sleep since she was 22. He picked his card back up off the bench and put it in my hand. There's a reunion tomorrow. Your class. She won't be there. Go and ask anybody who was in that room with the two of you what she was like. I am done being the only person in your life who tells you the truth. He got to the door. One more thing, I said. He stopped. I thought she was ashamed of me. Derek Violet looked back at me over his shoulder. She was proud of you, he said. You were the only thing she was proud of, and you were the only thing she couldn't keep. Jacob rented the back half of a bar on Wicker Street and hung a banner with the wrong graduation year on it, which everybody found funnier than it was. I had 4 drinks in 1 hour, which for me is a career. Lion. Jacob dropped into the seat across from me. Vinny Lion. Everybody said you were dead. I was in Belgium. Same thing. Julie was at the bar getting around. Somebody had put on music from our second year and half the room was pretending not to know all the words. Jacob, I said, can I ask you something? Ask. Back then. When Luna and I were. When you were the 2 most annoying people on that campus. Yes. Go on. Her friends. Her actual friends, the ones with the cars. What did they say about me? Jacob put his glass down. You're serious. I'm serious. They called you brother-in-law, he said. I did not say anything. To your face they didn't say much because she told them not to. But behind your back, brother-in-law, all of them, for 2 years, there was a whole thing about it. They used to make a noise when you walked in, like a ceremony. He laughed. Then he saw my face and stopped. Vinny, did you not know that? She told them not to say much? She sat them down in the Union building the same month you 2 got together. I was there. I was fixing the sound desk. Nobody noticed me. She said, listen to me. He works 2 jobs and he pays for everything himself. If any one of you makes him feel like a guest in his own relationship, I will end you. He shrugged. She used the word end. She was very calm about it. It was frightening. The bar was loud. I could hear every word he said with total clarity. And that was worse. I thought they didn't see me, I said. They saw you constantly. She never shut up about you. Your hands, mostly. She used to say, he can make anything, you should see what he can do with a piece of wire. Jacob turned his glass on the table. And then you were gone. Yes. You want the rest of it? No. I'm telling you anyway. She came to the pub after graduation. Nobody expected her. She sat where you're sitting for 2 hours. She didn't take her coat off and she didn't drink anything. And she asked every single one of us the same question. Did he say anything to you? Did he say anything to you? He looked up. You were her whole personality, man. And then you were a missing person. She walked around like a corpse that was still going to lectures. I got up and went outside and stood against the wall of the bar with my hands over my face. 5 years. All of it built on top of a laundromat television. I let a woman find out she was not enough to be told goodbye. I did it because I could not stand to be the poor one. Then I called it dignity. Julie found me 20 minutes later. You look terrible. I am terrible. Get in the car. I'll take you home. She drove me across the city with the window down because I asked her to. She pulled up outside my building and put the handbrake on and did not turn the engine off. Give me 30 seconds before you go up. Julie, don't. I have been doing this since we were 16 years old, she said. 16. I have earned one question. Just one. Ask it. Is there any version of the future where you and I get dinner and it means something? I looked at her, and she deserved better than the 2 seconds it took me. No, I said. Julie nodded and looked out the windscreen. Okay, she said. Okay, good. That's a good answer, actually. That is a much better answer than maybe. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be quick. She put the car in gear. Whatever you're about to go and do it fast, because you are extremely slow and it is your worst feature. I got out. She drove off. Across the street, in a black car parked in the dark with the engine off, Luna Violet sat with both hands on the wheel and watched Julie's tail lights go around the corner. She had been there since 10. She opened the door and got out into the road without closing it. Luna was in my hallway when I came up the stairs, sitting on the floor outside my door with her back against the wall and her shoes off again. There was a bottle next to her. It was most of the way empty. You're drunk, I said. I am extremely drunk. I planned this whole conversation in the car and I have forgotten all of it. Get up. Who was she? You are sitting on the floor of my building with a bottle. Who was she? She put a hand on the wall and got herself up in stages. She was not steady on her feet, and she was still the most intimidating person I have ever met. Small car, red coat. She had her hand on your arm at the door for 4 seconds. I counted them. You counted them. Yes. You were sitting outside my building counting seconds. Yes, Luna said. Because I am not well, Vinny. I have not been well for 5 years. I would rather sit in a car outside your building than lie in my bed and wonder. So yes, I counted them. Her name is Julie. I know her name. I looked at her file 2 weeks ago. You have a file on Julie? I have a file on everybody. She shouted it. Somewhere below us a television went quiet. I have a file on your landlord and your bank and the woman who sells you coffee. Do you understand how disgusting that is? Do you understand what you turned me into? What I turned you into? Yes. Something in my chest let go. My voice came up loud and I did not stop it. You want to talk about what I turned you into? Derek came to my studio. Yesterday. He stood in the middle of my studio and told me about June. Luna went completely still. He had no right, she said. 3 weeks. He had no right to tell you that. 3 weeks in a hospital. A housekeeper who found you. And 2 weeks ago you stood in an elevator and asked me how old my daughter was. My voice broke apart in the middle. You asked me how old she was, Luna. You made yourself say congratulations. Stop it. I did that. Nobody did that to you but me. I said stop it. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have looked at me exactly like you are looking at me right now. She screamed. She shoved me in the chest with both hands and I let her. She shoved me again. Then she held on. Like I am a thing that broke. I have spent 5 years building a company so nobody would ever look at me like that again. And I have to look at you. And you are doing it. I cannot bear it. I am not looking at you like that. I have never once looked at you like that. I loved you so much I stopped being a person. She said into my shirt. That is the whole thing. That is all of it. There is nothing underneath it. I put my arms around her in the hallway under a broken light. I held on. She cried until she could not do it anymore. Come inside, I said. No. You cannot drive and you cannot stand up straight. Not here. She stepped back and dragged both hands down her face. If we are going to do this, we do it at my apartment. Because there's something in my apartment. You are going to look at it. After you look at it, you can decide whatever you want. What is it? Get in the car, Vinny. Luna's apartment took up the top floor of a building on the north side of the park. And I stood in the entryway of it for a full 10 seconds before I could make myself walk in. Everything was pale and expensive and nothing in it looked like her. Say it, she said. Say what? Whatever the thought was. You had a thought in the doorway. I was thinking that this is exactly the room I have been afraid of since I was 19 years old. I said. And that I don't belong in it. Sit down. I sat on a sofa that cost more than my kiln. Luna kicked her shoes into a corner and sat on the floor in front of me with her back against the coffee table. It was such a familiar thing to do that it took the legs out from under me all over again. Ask me your questions, she said. All of them. Tonight. I am not doing this in pieces. Why didn't you come after me? I did. For a year. I flew to Antwerp twice. The second time I stood outside a workshop on a street I can still spell. I could not make myself go in. I had decided that if I saw your face and you did not want me, I would not survive the flight home. She pulled a cushion into her lap. Derek made me stop after that. He asked me to promise. I gave him the promise because I owed him one. For June. For June. Come here. Don't say anything gentle to me right now. I will come apart. I got down on the floor with her. My turn, she said. Why did you never ask me about Derek? Because I already knew the answer. You did not know anything. I knew what I was. I put my head back against the sofa. You want the honest version? Here it is. Every day I was with you I was waiting. I would wake up and think, today is the day she sees it. Today she looks across a table and works out what I am. A boy with 2 jobs, dead parents, and 1 good pair of shoes. And she is Luna Violet. So when I saw that photograph, I was not surprised, Luna. That is the part one need you to understand. I was relieved. I had been waiting for it for 2 years, and there it finally was. Relieved. For about 4 hours. Then it was the other thing. Luna wiped her face with the heel of her hand. I was going to tell you that summer, she said. About all of it. My father, the company, what my name actually is in this city. I had a whole plan. I was going to take you to the house in August. My mother was going to make too much food and Derek was going to be insufferable. I practiced it in the car. And then you were gone before August. I'm sorry. That is not enough. Nothing I have is enough. Say it anyway. I am sorry, I said. I took the worst thought I ever had about myself and I made you live inside it for 5 years. She put her face in her hands. I was scared too, she said. That is the part nobody believes. Everybody looks at me and they see the coat and the car and they think, that woman has never been frightened in her life. Vinny, I was terrified of you. Every single day. Because you could make things and I could only buy things. I used to lie awake and think, one day he is going to work out that he does not need me for anything. That's insane. Yes. Luna. That is completely insane. So was yours, she said. That is what I have been trying to tell you for 2 weeks. We sat on the floor of that ridiculous apartment and laughed like 2 people at a funeral. Then she got up and went into the hall closet. She came back with a plastic bag. It was old. The kind you get at a chemist, gone soft and cloudy, with something long inside it. Open it, she said. I opened it. It was an umbrella. Cheap, black, 1 broken rib, the plastic handle worn pale on one side. What is this? Luna sat back down on the floor. That's yours, she said. Luna waited while I turned the bag over in my hands. I don't own an umbrella, I said. You did, once, for about 40 minutes. 9 years ago, January, St. Anne's Hospital on the east side. Everything in me went cold. My father had a heart attack, she said. The first one. I was 17. My mother was in the room with him and Derek was on a flight from London, and they made me wait outside. After 4 hours I could not sit in that corridor anymore. I went out to the front steps. You were 17. They left you in a corridor for 4 hours. It was raining so hard the road looked like it was boiling. I had no coat, just a thin dress from a school thing. I stood on those steps and I understood something, in a very calm way. My father was going to die. I was going to have to be somebody different for the rest of my life. She looked up, and a boy came out of the doors behind me and stood next to me for a minute and did not say anything. And then he put an umbrella in my hand. I could not speak. He said, take it, I'm parked close. She smiled at the floor. You were not parked close. You did not have a car. And you walked into that rain and went around the corner. You were soaked before you got to the end of the block. I watched you the entire way. I don't remember your face, I said. You were never supposed to. Luna, I don't remember your face. I know you don't, she said. That's why I never told you. For you it was nothing. 40 seconds and an umbrella you didn't want to carry. For me it was the only kind thing that happened in the worst year of my life. I could not stand for you to find out it cost you nothing. It didn't cost me nothing. She stopped. January the 11th, I said. 9 years ago. St. Anne's, east side, 3rd floor. Luna's mouth opened. My mother died on the 3rd floor of that hospital at 7:40 in the evening, I said. I was 18. My father had been gone since I was 6. Jessica was 20. She was in the room when it happened and I was not. I had gone downstairs to call our aunt, and by the time I came back it was over. You never told me. In 2 years you never once told me that. I came out the front doors because I could not be in that building. And there was a girl on the steps in a thin dress in January with no coat. My voice went, and I gave her my umbrella because it was the only thing in the entire world I had left to give anybody. And then I walked home in the rain and I did not feel it. Luna was on her knees in front of me with both hands on my face. You were the sign, she said. Do you understand me? I went back up those stairs and I sat down and I thought, all right, if there are still people like that, then he might live. And he lived, Vinny. My father is 68 and he plays terrible golf and he lived. I cried the way you cry maybe twice in a life. She held my head against her shoulder on the floor of her apartment and did not tell me it was all right. That is the only reason I was able to stop. I kept the umbrella, she said. I kept it in a bag for 9 years. I moved it to 4 different apartments and I never told anybody why. Then in first year of university a boy walked into my economics lecture with a pencil behind his ear. I looked at him and I thought, oh no. You knew. I knew in the first 4 seconds. 2 years. I sat back. 2 years and you never said. You were already comparing yourself to everything in the room, she said. If I had told you that you were the best thing that ever happened to me before we had even had a coffee, you would have run out of the building. That is true. It is the truest thing about you. She lay down with her head in my lap. I sat on the floor and put my hand in her hair. The sun came up over the park somewhere around 6. Don't go, she said, half asleep. I'm not going. You say that. Open your eyes. I'm still here. Every night for 5 years, she said. In the dream you always say that first. I woke up at 5:10 in the morning on top of the covers with my shoes off. Luna was asleep with one hand closed around my sleeve. And I did the thing I always do. I got up and picked up my shoes. I stood at her front door with my hand on the lock and my heart going like a hammer. Every cell in my body said the same thing it said 5 years ago. Go. Go now before she wakes up and looks at you in daylight. I stood there for 4 minutes. Luna woke at 7 and the bed beside her was empty. She was up and across the room before she was awake. The bathroom? Empty. The hall? Empty. His shoes were gone from beside the sofa. The door was shut. She stood in the middle of her own apartment with her hands pressed flat against her chest and made a sound she had not made since she was 22. Then she saw the kitchen counter. A sheet of her own notepaper, folded once, standing up against the coffee machine. She cannot start a day without that machine. He knew it. Gone to see your brother. Back by 12. I did not leave. Vinny. She sat down on the kitchen floor and read it 11 times. Derek Violet lives in a house with a recording studio in the basement, and he answered his own door at 7:40 in the morning in a bathrobe, holding a cup of tea. You, he said. Me. It is 7:40. I need 11 minutes. He looked at me for a long moment and then he stood back from the door. I did not sit down. I stood in his hallway. On the wall beside me was the photograph he had told me about. His sister in a green dress on a red carpet with her brother's hand on her back. I made myself look straight at it while I talked. I am going to ask her to marry me, I said. Derek drank his tea. When? Today. Bold. I did not come here for permission, I said. I want to be honest about that. If you say no, I am going to do it anyway. I came here because you sat in that chair for 3 weeks and I did not. That means I say it to you first, standing up, before I say it to her. Derek put the cup down on the hall table. What do you have, he said, in total? Everything you own right now. A studio lease with 3 months of arrears. A kiln. About $9,000 in tools and stock. A car with 140,000 miles on it. And a savings account with $4,100 in it that I have been putting stones into for a year. And she has a company. She has a company. Doesn't that keep you up at night? It kept me up for 7 years, I said. It cost me 5 of them. I am done letting a number decide who I am allowed to love. Derek Violet folded his arms and looked at the floor of his own hallway for a while. You know I hate you, he said. I'd think less of you if you didn't. I have hated you with a real, sustained effort. It has been part of my routine. I understand. Do not make me sit in that chair again, he said. His voice went. He turned his face to the wall and got it back. That is the whole thing I have to say to you. That is it. I do not care about the money and I do not care about the studio. Do not make me sit in that chair again, Vinny. I won't. Say it properly. I will never make you sit in that chair again. He picked his tea back up. She's been designing that ring since she was 20, he said. Did she tell you that? She has a folder. She used to draw them in economics lectures instead of taking notes. Every one of them is a ring you would have made. Thank you for telling me that. Get out of my house. I'm in a bathrobe. I went to the studio. That ring had been on my bench for 9 days. I finished it in 3 hours and 40 minutes that morning. It is the best thing I have ever made. Then I engraved the inside of the band, which she had told me to leave blank. I called her at 11:30. Where are you? Luna said. Do you know St. Anne's? The east side. There was a pause on the line that lasted about a year. Why are you standing outside a hospital? The front steps, I said. 1 o'clock. Bring the umbrella. It rained. Of course it rained. Luna got out of a car at 1:04 in a gray coat, holding a 9-year-old umbrella with a broken rib. She came up the hospital steps and stopped 3 feet away from me. She did not open it. You're getting soaked, she said. I know. You always do this. Come here. She came under with me. The umbrella was too small for 2 people. It had been too small for 2 people for 9 years. We stood on those steps with the rain hitting our shoulders on both sides. 9 years ago I stood right here and I gave everything I had left to a girl whose name I did not ask for. I said. It was the last good decision I made for about a decade. You're doing this here, on these steps. Let me get through it. You're shaking. Yes, I said. I'm terrified. Let me get through it anyway. I got the box out of my coat. Luna's hand came up over her mouth. You hired me to make an engagement ring for a stubborn man, I said. So I made it. He's the most stubborn man I have ever met. He decided when he was 19 that he was not good enough for you. He has argued with everybody who tried to tell him otherwise, including you, especially you. Stop describing yourself to me like a stranger. He's done arguing. I got down on the step in the rain and I opened the box. Luna made a sound like she had been hit. I have $4,000 and a room above a dry cleaner, I said. I have a niece who calls me Papa. There is a sister who has told me for a year to go and be happy and stop apologizing for it. There is a brother-in-law coming who will be unbearable at Christmas. That is my whole offer. I cannot give you a building. What I can give you is every single day I have left. And I know exactly what that is worth. I threw 5 years of them away and I counted everyone. Get up. Marry me, Luna. Get up, Vinny. Get up. Get up. She was pulling at my coat with both hands. The umbrella was on the ground and the rain was coming straight down on both of us. Yes. Say the rest of it. Yes, yes. That was the rest of it. Then yes. I put the ring on her hand on the steps of the hospital where her father did not die and my mother did. She looked at it for a second. Then she turned it and looked inside the band, because she is Luna, and she has never left a thing unopened. You engraved it, she said. I did. January the 11th. Her voice went to nothing. You put the date. You said he'd want to do that part himself. Luna Violet sat down on a wet hospital step in a coat worth more than my car and cried into both hands. Then she started laughing. Then she pulled me down by the front of my shirt and kissed me in front of an entire emergency department. Across the road, a black car with tinted windows sat at the curb with its engine running. Derek watched for a while. Then he pulled out into traffic and left them there in the rain. 6 months later, Luna could not put her own shoes on. It is not funny, she said. It is a little funny. Do not laugh at a woman who cannot reach her own feet. I knelt down in front of the sofa and did the straps for her. She put both hands on the top of my head like she was knighting me. We had a house by then, an old one, with a garden that neither of us knew how to look after and a room at the back with north light that I had turned into a workshop. Jessica came on Sundays. Rachel had a drawer in the kitchen that was entirely hers. It held about 40 crayons and one hard-boiled egg nobody could account for. They said it's a girl, Luna said. You told me on Tuesday. I'm telling you again. She had her hand flat on her stomach. She was looking at the window and not at me. That is what she does when she is about to say something she has been holding. Ask it, I said. It's stupid. Ask it anyway. When she comes, Luna said. You're going to love her more than me. I sat back on my heels. Yes, I said. Oh, Luna, look at me. She looked. I am going to love her in a completely different way. I said. There will be nights when I put her before you. You will hate it and you will be right to, and you will still be first. You have been first since I was 18 years old on a set of hospital steps and I did not even know your name. Nothing that happens in this house is going to move you. You practiced that. I have been practicing it for 2 weeks. It's very good. Thank you. She put her hand out and I gave her mine. She turned the ring on her finger. That is a thing she does about 200 times a day and does not know she is doing. I want to ask you for something. Anything. There's a bag in the hall closet, Luna said, with the umbrella in it. I want you to leave it there. Even when the house gets full and there's no room for anything. I want that bag to stay in that closet. It stays. Promise me. I promise you. Outside the window it was starting to rain again. Luna Violet put her head on my shoulder and closed her eyes. Neither of us got up to close the door.